Good morning and welcome to Making Peace with Money with your host, Laurie Lomantia, Professor, CPO, and Prosperity Coach. Get ready to master your life and your money, not the other way around. Now, here is your host, Laurie Lomantia.
Good morning and welcome to our show today where we're going to be talking about money decisions and looking into, are we really making life-affirming decisions or money-protecting decisions? And I'll tell you a little bit about why we got to this in a second, but I wanted us to really spend some time here thinking about how we might think that a lot of our life-affirming decisions are really money-protecting decisions. So we decide we're not going to take a vacation because we need to have protect our money, and in the long run, that's a life-affirming decision. Or we decide to stay at a job that really is not fulfilling and maybe downright deadening, but because we're bringing in a paycheck, it on some level we feel that this is life-affirming because it's bringing in money and we're paying for our bills. And I'm saying I agree on some level with that, but I also think that this show is an opportunity to look directly at those decisions that we're making, that where we're equating a money-protecting decision to a life-affirming decision, and many times, in my opinion, those are not one and the same. And especially if a lot of money-protecting decisions are actually rooted in fear. And whenever something's rooted in fear, it's always an alert to me. It's always a wake-up call, and it's always a message from my higher wisdom about that I'm giving into a fear-based thought. And a money-protecting decision might be a very fear-based thought. And that's, of course, only up to you and inside of you and knowing what's right for you. But what I wanted to do here in this hour is really call that out and let's have a conversation about that, because in some ways I think our money-protecting decisions are deadening our life experience, and that's when a money-protecting decision is not the highest and best decision. And what I'm hoping is, as you think about the decisions that you're making around money, you will start to feel into what are the life-affirming decisions and follow those. Because a lot of times, sometimes our life-affirming decisions aren't even profit maximizing, and they might just be downright money losers. And I'm going to talk a little bit about we're going to cover a lot of stories here today, so you can start to see how some life-affirming decisions might just actually mean we aren't worried about the money at all. And so we can start to differentiate between the different kinds of decisions that we're making and make them more consciously. And that's the key here, is to make a conscious choice. And one of the unquestioned assumptions I think that people make is, I have to make this money-protecting decision, and in the long run, it will be a life-affirming decision. And that unquestioned assumption, I would like for you to look at and say, maybe that's not always true. So today, in our talk, in our show today, we're going to look at the difference between these two, especially using stories, and look a little bit more at this unquestioned assumption about money protecting is the highest and best decision. And, of course, some tools to get clear about how to shift into making life-affirming decisions that are also money, not only protecting, but money enhancing, prosperity enhancing, because ultimately that's where we want to be, right? We don't want to be in protection mode. We want to be in flourishing mode. We don't want to be trying to, make the most out of our pittance. We want to actually live fully and completely in a flourishing money situation, a flourishing health situation, a flourishing life situation. And that's really the energy that I wish for us to step into every day with. So right away you can feel how money protecting feels small. My shoulders are slumped over when I talk about money protecting. I'm covering up. And when I think about life affirming, my shoulders open up, I feel my posture raise. It's interesting how your body is a reflection of what's going on energetically around that. So, and how I wanted to talk about how I came to this topic because it was really it's a really interesting story that I think we can all relate to around money protecting versus life affirming. And how I came to it was I was talking with a friend of mine, and we were talking about a mutual acquaintance. And this mutual acquaintance, I'll call him Frank, he had lost his job and was obviously pretty freaked out. And what had happened was him and his wife had just had a newborn, and he was desperately looking for a new job so that they could cover their mortgage. And he found a job in a city a 5-hour drive away. And so what they decided was his wife would stay with the house and the newborn to take care of it, make sure, and work with the realtor to get it sold, while he moved to this new city 5 hours away and started his new job. You know, and on the surface, this makes perfect sense. He needed employment in order to keep their financial house from collapsing. The key is it's been over a year since he was gratefully able to find this job in this other city, and he's had to be away from his family for a very long year. And, you know, I just want to say here, when they first made this decision, it makes a lot of sense. It feels like a life-affirming and a money-protecting decision. I'll go work, you stay here, sell the house, and then we'll go. But of course, over the course of the year, because of the real estate market being the way it is, you know, they haven't been able to sell the house for the amount of money that they really wanted. So an offer came in, and you know, it was a lowball offer, and it didn't work out. And in a lot of ways, it didn't work out because they said, hey, you know, we're going to lose money on this decision. So time ticks on. Things move on, and again, now they're at a situation where the relationship is on the rocks from being separated so long. The stress levels are skyrocketing. His wife, with the stress of a new job, with the stress of her job, a newborn, and of course being a single parent, and him feeling displaced, lonely, and having to drive 5 hours on the weekend to see the family, and of course that frustration of the lowball offers and, you know, ultimately looking at possibly losing thousands of dollars to sell their house. I mean, totally, I could totally relate. This is such a crappy situation, and I know a lot of us can feel for these people. If we're not directly in the middle of this, we know somebody who is, and man, you know, you could feel all the tension in the body. And so here we go. Here's exactly something that a key point I wanted us to notice when we're in this crappy situation. We can feel crap. You feel stuck, like we have no options. We feel hostage to the situation, the real estate market, not being able to get offers, and of course, fearful about the financial situation and powerless to make any changes. And I think you all know what I'm talking about with these feelings, these vibes. And these vibes are messages from us to us that we are in the middle of consistently choosing incorrectly. I think what I really want us to feel is when these are messages to us, stuckness, hostage, powerlessness, that we have got our scarcity hat on, and we need to take our scarcity hat off and put on this is who I really am. I am a powerful creator, and I am not going to give into these feelings. And so I want to say that I've been in this situation, but there are a few key points here. And the one key point is that this couple is not stuck, and none of us are stuck. We always have options. We might choose not to exercise them, but just even acknowledging that we're not choosing to exercise our options should feel a little bit of release from stuck, I have absolutely no options, I'm powerless, or feeling hostage to the real estate market. We don't have to feel hostage. And in fact, you know, part of the power we have to create is creating buyers and good buyers. And I know that sounds a little like Lori's living in another land, but really, when we put on our prosperity hat, we can start to see options that might not have been obvious to us before. We open up to new possibilities, and the possibility of actually taking a lowball offer to get out from the pressure might just be a very life-affirming decision. And that's kind of where I was headed a little bit with this. Sometimes a money-protecting decision is, when you have these feelings of stuckness, hostage, it's not a life-affirming decision. And actually, it starts to become incredibly energetically expensive. So we're saving money, let's say $50,000, but our health is going, our relationships are going, how we're feeling is going, and therefore it becomes a very expensive decision. And sometimes $50,000 might be a cheap way to save the energetic experience, and that's where we have to tune in and say, I want to make a life-affirming decision, and of course the opportunity to have a money-protecting decision or money-flourishing decision. But I think you can, and I know I'm making this feel really black and white, but for the purposes of this example, I really want it to be, because believe me, I've struggled with this, and after many struggles, some that have gone on for years, in which I've come out on the other side, I see that when I make a courageous, life-affirming choice over a money-protecting choice, in the long run, I was better off. Even financially, I might take a $50,000 or a $60,000 hit, and I'm talking thousands and thousands of dollars, not just hundreds of dollars. And in the long run, because I'm making a life-affirming choice and not a money-protecting choice, I'm opening up and I'm allowing new possibilities to flow in, and that's the key here. I'm trying to get out of this either or, protect the money or the heck with it and say, I really want to reunite with my family. The third option might be to engage our prosperity truth and use that truth to do something different, a life-affirming thing. And, of course, set the intention of having the money situation work out for the better than expected or better than hoped. But at first, it might seem that you're going to have to make a non-optimal money choice in order to make the optimal life choice, and then start to see how things change and flourish. So after the break, I want to come back and I want to analyze this experience a little bit more and give you some tools in order to shift so you can move into that prosperity state. Hi, and welcome back. And we're talking about this situation about a life-affirming decision or a money-protecting decision. And one of the things that I wanted to do in this segment is talk about some tools so that we can shift out of that feeling of hostage, powerlessness, frustration, anger, rage, which are actually wonderful messages. So let's start with that. That is our first tool. Pay attention to the feeling messengers that you're getting. The first thing you need to do is when you feel that way, stop and say, there is something really going on here that I need to make a change about. Those messengers, rage, hostage feeling, overwhelmment, feeling like you have no choice, those are all your body, your higher self, your highest wisdom saying to you, alert, 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 wake up. This is not who we are, and this is not how we want to operate. And when you look at those messages, you could say, I need to change something here. Something needs to change. Something physical, something mental, emotional, something. But I would highly recommend something physical, because when you're in that situation, you need to take a real action and make a real change. So in order to do that, so you see, you've got the energy message coming in and saying, I got this trouble. Now, before you make a move, the next tool that I want you to consider is moving to the highest notion and the highest intention that you want to create. Part of what we get stuck in doing is we try and fix a problem, and we start at the symptomology. We start at the problem where it is. And this only can, it almost creates a glass ceiling on what's possible. So what I want you to do is say, I know that anything is possible here, and I am open to the highest and best outcome. And I'm not going to get wrapped up in I don't have enough money, the real estate market stinks. How do I change all this? Trying to fix the symptomology. I want you to flip up into that prosperity of feeling of, I wish for my family and I to be together. I want for us to feel very good about our financial situation. Move to that highest notion and move forward from that place, holding that vision, not worrying about the current money situation or the current whatever you find yourself in. The next tool you can do is take money out of the equation, which I know sounds kind of crazy, but a lot of times we get ourselves into suboptimal decisions because we're trying to maximize the money return instead of the life return. And I'll tell you what, every time I have stepped into any situation knowing I am maximizing my life and I expect that the money situation will follow, I'm standing in my power. I'm not making a decision based so much on what is the best money decision, but what is the best life decision, and how can I make the best money decision to match that? I hope you can see what I'm trying to do here is flip it from what's the best money decision and then I'll get my life to tag along. No, I make the best life decision, and I expect that my money situation will tag along. It's flipping it, but that flip makes such a huge difference. So take money out of the equation. Also, I have to say, this is a classic. You've got to let go of the sunk cost. For so many of us, and this is kind of basic economics 101, we say, oh, well, we bought a house, we spent a lot of money there, we've invested a lot of money, but that is over. That is in the past. That is what we call a sunk cost. And we can't keep making present moment decisions and future decisions based on a sunk cost. In economics and business decision making, sunk costs are past costs. They've already been incurred and cannot be recovered. You need to look at sunk costs as, I did it, I made that choice then, and now I have to move on and make the best choice, not based on what I've put into this point, but what I'm going to put into the future. Sunk costs are sunk. And I think a lot of people get all emotionally tied. Well, I already have $50,000 in this thing. I can't lose that. It's too late. It's gone. It's a decision that was made in the past. The best you can do now is start to make your decision based on current value and current future investment. And by the way, here's the next tool. Do not look at what you're really investing. You're not just investing money. Like this choice that this couple is making. They are investing not only the money, but they're investing the time. They've invested a year of energy. They've invested a year of their son's life that they missed out on. They invested their relationship they've invested hugely. And I think we do not take into consideration all the costs that we're investing, all the investment we're making it's not just, we're trying to save $10,000, because sometimes that's what it comes out to. You're trading a year of your life for $10,000. It's just, and I know $10,000 is a lot of money. I'm not trying to negate that. What I'm trying to say is when we make life-affirming decisions, we consider all that's being invested, not just the money, but the life energy, the relationship, the health, the whole package that a lot of times we have a hard time putting a dollar figure to, but it's fascinating when you start to count what counts. And a lot of times spending time with your family is worth way more than the $10,000 you're going to save, on a lowball offer. So start to make that connection. And I'm just using this real estate example to have this conversation, but you can feel it. You can see it in your body and in your mind. You take whatever situation's alive and awake for you right now and use these tools and use this analysis to shift from possibly making a small decision, which is a money protecting decision, to switching over to a life. This is my life, and I'm going to make the best choice for me on whole. And that isn't only a money-based decision, it is a life-based decision. And so here, what I'm trying to say, too, is get clear about what you really want to invest your life energy in. Because we've talked about this before. Money is another form of your life energy. And when you are just making money decisions, I understand, that's a big part of life energy, but there's also bigger choices. And I know you know this. I mean, this is kind of obvious. But for the purposes of this conversation, it's really trying to make it clear how sometimes we get, again, unconsciously swept into a money-protecting decision instead of a life-affirming decision. And, of course, another tool is remember the power of and. It doesn't have to be money or life. Please don't hear this wrong. I'm not saying money or life, and that's another unquestioned assumption we make. I can either have my full life or money, but I can't have both. And what I'm saying is start with the highest notion. Start with, I'm going to make a full life affirming decision, and I choose to have my health follow along, my money follow along, my relationships follow along. I am looking for the total package of prosperity, and that to me is the ultimate prosperity choice decision, is you're not making a life or money decision. You're making a prosperity decision, and you have that right. That is, prosperity is yours. It's flowing all around you in every way. Plug into it, and then step forward with your actions. Assume success instead of failure. On some level, this market is creating an assumption, and I don't know why we keep agreeing to it, the assumption of smallness, of scarcity. And by the way, that produces more. So we are collective consciously creating more scarcity. Stop. Whenever you feel that, just stop. Stop and say, I'm not feeding that anymore. I choose not to put more energy there. I choose to go into a prosperous frame of mind. And it could just be as simple as, I'm going to enjoy my cup of coffee right now, and I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to think about it. But when I do come back to it, I am going to make a full, empowered life prosperity decision. And I know I'm kind of giving you this giant piece, and I keep sitting up, and my shoulders are pulled back, and I'm sitting up strong, and that's how I want you to step in, is sit up strong and choose to walk in your full power. But on some level, this couple probably knows the relieving choice for them. And that's the other thing I want you to notice is that energetic crossover point from when it made sense. It was a good idea when they first started. But there was a point, and they've been going through probably a gazillion of them, where it's like, this isn't worth it. This isn't worth it. As soon as you hear yourself say, this isn't worth it, it's time to say, I've got to make a new choice. I've got to make a choice that's life-affirming and maybe not so money-protecting. Maybe I'm going to have to take that low-ball offer. Maybe I'm going to have to claim bankruptcy. Maybe I'm going to need to negotiate with the bank. There's so many different options, but as soon as we stop grasping at protecting that last dollar and we open our hand up and we say, okay, I've crossed over, it doesn't feel good anymore, let's make a different choice, that is a full life choice, not just a money protecting choice. And I know that in the long run, the money experience will flow. I think when we give ourselves permission to shift over, we will give ourselves permission to try something very unexpected and very new, and probably, and this is the key, and we're going to talk about this next after the break, is sometimes these decisions that we make they could be money counterintuitive, meaning they're not going to be profit maximizing. They might downright lose us money in the short term, but in the long term will give us back our sanity, our health, that feeling of empowerment, that breath of fresh air that we so crave. And that's the message. The opportunity is we need to make a choice that gives us the relief, the breath of fresh air that we haven't been willing or able to because we've been making this money protection decision. so when we come back, I want to talk about some business situations where we can look at this life-affirming versus money-protecting. Hi, and welcome back. And we're talking about making money-protecting decisions versus life-affirming decisions. And I was just thinking about different things that happen at work that, of course, at work we assume we always need to make a money-maximizing decision. And I was thinking about a business that I was working with, and what had happened was an investor came along to the business and put in a lot of money, and he became partners with the owner. And so together they were running the business because the investor had a lot of excellent business experience in the industry, and the owner was so glad to have somebody else who had a lot of skin in the game, a lot of money in the game. So the owner had just started filtering off a lot of money, stopped actually working in the business, took a lot of vacations, and caused a lot of trouble and disconsternation with the investor. So the owner and the investor started basically having a lot of arguments because the investor's like, this wasn't our agreement, and you're really causing a lot of trouble in the business. And the owner was like, too bad for you, I got your money. You don't like it? Too bad. You're in. I know you've got a sunk cost. I've got you, and you're stuck. And you're stuck with dealing with it. And so here's, the classic setup. I'm hostage now. I'm hostage to this crazy person's opinions and approach. And I know a lot of us have felt that way, that, I'm stuck. And yes, initially, again, we've got that message coming in, stuck, need to make a real change, take an action. And so, of course, and this is what a lot of people, what they do is they'll try a lot of different options. They'll try negotiation. They'll bring in a consultant and a counselor. You'll try almost anything, and you go through all those options. And there is, in a lot of ways, every money-protecting decision and life-affirming decision, we make the choices in the present moment given the best information we have. And sometimes we do. We need to spend some time, whether trying to sell the house for 6 months or trying to fix the business for however long makes sense. In the end, though, the investor made a pretty radical decision. He decided to sue the business owner and actually ended up getting the business shut down, and they shut the business down for 6 months while they fought in court, and the judge actually sided with the investor. The owner was removed, and then the investor had the option and the opportunity to restart the business. And that's what he had to do, and he had to put in the time and the energy to restart the business. And, at some level, the reason why I tell this story is it's really counterintuitive, especially if you're running a business. You think, there is no way I'm going to kill this business. I've put too much of my life energy into it. Again, sunk cost. I've got so much money invested. I'm going to make this thing work. And sometimes the most counterintuitive thing is to say, I'm done. I'm walking away, or we're going to take this to court, and we're going to stop this. I'm going to stop throwing good money after bad. And that's what usually happens when we start ignoring the sunk cost and not making a life-affirming decision. We just throw good life after bad. We throw good money after bad. And I'm bringing this out because sometimes a life-affirming decision to feel unstuck, unfrustrated, unraged is to take a very empowered action, which could be something as drastic as, getting a lawyer. But it doesn't have to be drastic. It just has to feel like a relief. It just has to feel like, even having a conversation with the person. For some of us, it's just opening up our mouths and saying, this is making me uncomfortable. What can we do about it? A lot of times we don't even do that. So start with the simple step and move to escalating. But realize that every step feels like a risk because you feel like you're going to rock the boat and you could lose that money. And that's why we don't open our mouths, make a change. We're in money protecting mode instead of life affirming mode. And that's where I want you to feel in. Am I making a money protecting decision at the cost of life affirmment? And I was talking to a friend who, she ended up actually leaving her job because the environment was just, she was getting sick, she wasn't feeling good because of all the fighting, and she just said, I can't take it anymore. Now again, counterintuitive, she actually decided to leave her job to take her chances on the open market in the worst market of all time. People weren't hiring. The jobless rates in December of last year were just, skyrocketing. But she decided, she took a courageous action, and she said, I'm going to make a life-affirming choice. And I just know, and this is the key, I just know that I'm opening myself up to possibilities, and I'm intending for a better, something absolutely better. And I trust something absolutely better is coming. And that's the key. She opened herself to that higher perspective, and things changed. She ended up getting a very nice job and is moving forward feeling very good about the time she had off, and now this new opportunity that's come in. What I'm trying to show you here is sometimes we make these money-protecting decisions that are actually masquerading around as, I don't really want to make the life-affirming decision. We hide behind the money decision, and we use it as our excuse not to move forward because of the money situation. And, and everybody agrees with it. Oh, you can't leave your job just because, or you can't close the business. You're going to lose money. I mean, our society is very good at supporting money-protecting decisions. And to me, it feels sometimes like an excuse for not doing the life-affirming or self-empowered work. And I talked about this a little bit when we were talking about winning the lottery. Using money to buy yourself out of a situation instead of courageously dealing with it. We use money as a reason not to leave a deadening job or a bad marriage or whatever. And these life situations seem to make logical sense. Our society makes it fully support you. Hey, money's a good reason not to. But really, don't go there. Don't hide behind money instead of doing the courageous thing. And when you do the courageous thing, whatever it is, and usually when you're making a life-affirming decision, sometimes it feels like you're saying, hey, I don't really care about the money because I know I am prosperity. I am prosperity. It is around me. I am choosing to plug into my creative, empowered giant self, and I'm not going to let money be the dictator over me. I am the ruler over it. And that's been the whole point of this show. When we make peace with money, we've actually put it back into its rightful place as our tool, as something we use instead of being used in order to foster it. We use it to foster our life. And that is really where it's a slight shift, but it shifts everything in how things unfold. So the other thing I wanted to just point out here, and we're going to head into a break pretty soon, but I wanted to also mention about how we make money decisions based on past money mistakes. And I was just doing this over the weekend. It's really important not to use a past money mistake that you've done before and pollute the situation now and going forward. When we make a mistake, we try and learn from that mistake, but in the back of our mind, it's always hanging there because you've got a felt sense of it. Like, one of the things, that jumps into my mind is you buy some real estate and you get a really crappy tenant. And then all of a sudden you think, I don't want to be in real estate. I don't want tenants anymore. I mean, on some level, you can scare yourself right out of a whole opportunity by being afraid of an experience that you had where you've lost a lot of money. And I'm saying be careful not to make your current money decisions based on those past mistakes, because the fear of making the same mistake will pollute your current experience and push you into a protection mode, and so you don't make the mistake again. And you don't want that. You want to be making your choices based on who you are today, taking that learning and bringing it forward and walking again into the situation from a power position, not a protection, fear. I don't want to do that again. Oh my gosh. It's, okay, I learned. I definitely don't want to do that again, and here's what I'm going to change in order to make a new decision in this new moment. And that's the opportunity. Don't let the fear of a bad money decision take you out of the game completely. And I've seen that before, where somebody says, you know what, I tried starting a business and it didn't work, and I am never going to try it again. There's just no way. I hate to say it, but sometimes, and based on all the research I've seen, a lot of times the first business does fail. You learn a lot. You take a time off to recuperate. But a lot of people who really have the entrepreneur bug, they start a second business. They take all that learning forward, and the second business or the third business is actually the successful one that they make it in. So, taking a chance. There's nothing wrong with taking a chance. What's the too bad part is letting it scare you off and not walking forward and utilizing that learning because of a past fear experience. So when we get back from break, I want to talk about some ways some questions you can ask yourself to see, am I in a life affirming, choosing mode, or am I in a money protecting mode? And that'll help you get clear. Welcome back, and we're talking about how to make life-affirming decisions that are also money-supporting and money-flourishing decisions. And ultimately, that's what I would like us to really end with here, is that feeling that we are going to make life-affirming decisions that also are good money decisions, and that it doesn't have to be an either or. But as we get comfortable with doing this, we will start making really great decisions that are also really good for us financially. When we were talking about Wall Street last night, the movie Wall Street, in class, and it was interesting because there's a scene in the Wall Street movie where Gordon Gekko is talking to Bud, and he's asking Bud, this new upstart investor guy, to get him insider trading information. And Gekko's like, the only way you're going to work for me, Bud, is if you give me what I really want, which is this information. And Bud's like, I can't do that. That's illegal. And Gekko's like, you know what? Don't waste my time. Get out. And you could see there's that crossover point where Bud was thinking it's either or. Either I do this illegal stuff for Gekko, or you know what? I'm out, and I got to go back to doing the same old. And you could see he sold his soul. Boom, right there. And it's interesting. I think we know when we're at that crossover point. We know when we're at a point where we're making, or at least part of us really knows, when we're making a classic money protecting choice versus a life affirming choice. And I want you to start to get real comfortable listening in and feeling that crossover point. You'll intend it, because as soon as you intend it, you'll start to feel it, and then you'll say, wait a second, I think I might be I want to make the highest and best life-affirming choice, and by the way, I expect that it will also be a money-prospering choice. Some other questions I think you might need to start to ask yourself in order to get down to what is really going on is, ask yourself, am I making a money-protecting decision, or am I making a life-affirming decision? And if I'm making a money-protecting decision, is it going to negatively affect my life, and in what ways? Start to get clear. How am I going to have to give up this, or my happiness, or my freedom? On some level, a money-protecting decision, it creates an or situation, and you'll start to feel it. And in the long run, that's going to not feel like the best decision. Also, Asking yourself, have I confused a money-protecting decision for a life-affirming decision? Am I making the assumption that, if I protect my money, it's of course going to be life-affirming? That is not always necessarily true. Are you doing that? Also, when you think of a current money situation, do you feel any signals inside of you that something needs to change? So check in. Are you feeling powerlessness? Are you feeling like a hostage of a situation? Are you feeling stuckness or entrapment or rage or depression or anger or frustration? Those are all messages from your internal being that's saying, we're not in alignment. We're not in alignment with who we really are. What actual change can we make? First, of course, and energetically, hey, I'm a prosperous person, and now B, based on that, what choice could I make to give me some relief from this frustration and rage? Also, ask yourself, am I letting a past money experience keep me from making a new life-affirming choice now? Am I letting something that happened negatively in the past keep me from moving forward? Is it keeping me out of the game? Am I letting it pollute, my current situation and recreate the energy from the past in the present? Or mostly, am I letting that fear override my internal wisdom to the point that I'm not open to new opportunities and different options? And that's the key. Fear overrides, a lot of times, our internal wisdom, which is a very empowered wisdom. Our internal soul, higher wisdom, is not afraid of anything. It really isn't. It never falls into fear. And so whenever you go and ask yourself for the best option, it's not going to have any protection and fear in it. It's going to have a life enhancing. It's not going to say this is how you can, marginalize. It's never going to be a marginal response. So fear will override that, and so you've got to be paying attention to that. Also, ask yourself, am I letting money keep me out of the ball game altogether? Am I letting a past money decision, am I using it as an excuse or a reason not to make a life-affirming decision? Am I, letting money, am I taking my power and giving it to money and saying, you know what, because of that, I can't do what I need to do. I won't do what I need to do. And really that brings on the question, is money really the issue, honestly? Is the life-affirming decision not being made really about money, or is there really something else going on, like a fear of success? Not necessarily a fear of failure, a fear of success, a fear of change, a fear of somebody saying something or seeing you in a different way. There's all those underlying fears, and we just use money as the excuse. Get clear and take money out of the equation. And another question you can ask yourself is, am I willing to lose money to do what I need to do? Am I willing to face the most difficult option and maybe even lose money to have a life-affirming experience, as in leave the job or walk away from a partnership or sell the house at a loss? Because sometimes the money-losing choice is the most life-affirming choice. Not always, but sometimes it is. And, being willing to deal with that as the worst-case scenario gives you tremendous freedom, because then you can say, you know what, I can deal with the worst, and I know I'm going to be just fine because I'll still have my health, I'll still have my family, whatever it is. So be willing to look the worst-case scenario in the eyes. So I know we've been talking about a topic that's really difficult on some level, because it brings us face-to-face with money and our beliefs that keep us making these money-protecting decisions, which are not bad. Believe me, I've done it before. But what I'm hoping you started to hear in this hour is that I can start to make real life-affirming choices. And I don't have to necessarily agree to the unconscious notion that I need to always be in money protecting mode and it's money or my life. You start with the highest life affirming decision, and and know that the money, the health, the relationships, the help, the whatever is going to come forward. Make the life-affirming choice and not the small, protecting choice. And I wish you tremendous luck. I know your creative power will help you move in that direction. Have a great week. Live long and prosper.